It's back. Growing up in New York, who were those bands and the artists? Who were the guitarists that really did it for you? Who said, "Man, I got to pick up my act"?
Yeah, Eric Clapton, Cream, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath really just was amazing. Tony Iommi, of course, the father of heavy metal.
Yep.
And but I drew a lot from a lot of different guys like Carlos Santana and Buck Dharma from Blue Oyster Cult, and Mike Bloomfield and Elvin Bishop, and all diverse kind of guys. Kind of really made my style, which is kind of what it is.
Sure. What was the first record that you bought?
Sgt. Pepper's.
Wow, amazing. Now, did you go to a lot of live shows? Because New York had so many venues.
Yeah, I
what was your first show you went to that was like, oh my God, this is...
The first band I saw, the first live band at a concert I saw, the drummer is here today, Carmine Appice, Vanilla Fudge.
Yep.
I saw Vanilla Fudge play, and that kind of like really wrecked my life. And we just...
What was the venue?
City College, Hunter College, something in City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what part of New York did you grow up in?
In the Bronx.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a lot of music in the community? How did you start playing with the guys in the neighborhood? Or?
Yeah, you know, my high school, DeWitt Clinton High School, and we had a lot of people go there, and the band, there was a band there that was playing called the Blues Magoos, and they had a big hit. We Ain't Got Nothing Yet, back in the '60s. That's before me, but I mean, you know. But
they inspired you.
They were legendary.
Anybody could do this. These are the guys down the street.
You know, get a guitar, play it, learn. You know.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the evolution. How did you join or form? How did the Dictators come together?
We formed in. We were up. A lot of the guys were upstate in college in New Paltz in '73. But I wasn't actually going to college at the time. I was just playing guitar in a band up there. And then Andy Chernoff, I met Andy. We decided to make the band, the Dictators. Blah 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 blah. We got Scott. We knew the Richard Meltzer.
Yeah.
And he wrote lyrics for Blue Oyster Cult. He knew Sandy Perlman, the manager of Blue Oyster Cult.
Yeah. Came
up and saw us, brought us down to New York. We made a demo. We were signed to CBS.
Wow. Now, when did Dick Manitoba come into the group?
He was like our friend, our great friend. He used to be our breakfast chef and roadie, and then we didn't really know he could sing and perform. And then one day we were playing in Brooklyn, and we said, you know, come up on stage and sing Wild Thing with us. He didn't really know much, but he knew Wild Thing. He sang, and the place went berserk. I mean, he really did.
So it was more the passion than the experience.
It was unbelievable. And every degenerate in the place really loved it. And it was like, all of a sudden, we saw this reaction from people that we weren't getting when Andy was just doing the singing. And Andy was good, but this guy was physically moving people. So
it's so much in common with the AC/DC story. Bon was like their driver and jumped up on stage one day, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and it was unbelievable. We had our front man, and Manitoba ever since has been doing it.
Yeah. Well, tell us about the classic first album. Any stories behind any of your favorite songs, or just the experience of really going from being the local band to being out there in the nation?
We just were signed. We were signed by Sandy and Murray Crewman. We were signed to CBS, and we found ourselves. We find ourselves on tour with all these big bands around the world, and thrown in there.
What were some of the first bands you went out on stage to open for?
We played with Rush on their first record.
Okay.
We played with ZZ Top. We played with Blackfoot. We played with Blue Oyster Cult, of course, a ton of times.
Yeah.
A lot of bands.
Yeah.
It's constantly on tour.
Ever played with Kiss back in the day?
We did a whole Kiss tour.
Okay.
We're from the same. At one point, there were only 3 bands signed to major labels in New York City. It was the New York Dolls, it was the Dictators, and Kiss.
Wow.
So that was 75, 76.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There's so many classic songs, from that record, and then it evolved into Blood Brothers. What was the evolution like? It seemed like it.
We went from Andy playing bass in '70 on Girl Crazy to not playing bass to Mark Mendoza who plays with Twisted Sister.
Yeah.
He played bass at Manifest Destiny on the second one, and on the third one, we went back to the way we were, to the more punk rock type unit.
Yeah.
And we made Blood Brothers, which is considered a classic record.
So, were you influenced by the punk scene that was exploding? Because obviously, you guys were a combination of classic pop and rock and metal, and it just seemed that Blood Brothers had a whole attitude and an edge.
It was done live in the studio. All my solos were done live on the take. No rhythm track. We just the band as it was. We did the record live.
What's your greatest memories of that era?
Well, doing the record live, getting back to the basics, really being who we were, and having Bruce Springsteen do a count off on Faster and Louder, and partying with the Clans. We were sharing the studio, so they were in A, we were in B.
Amazing, amazing. It was such a great era, and I know it influenced, so many people, so many bands can now look back at, the Dictators' influence. Tell us about the evolution into MANOWAR. How did that all take place?
After Blood Brothers, the Dictators kind of took a hiatus, and I was looking for work, and Sandy found this band Shakin' Street in Paris. With Fabienne and Shakin' Street, the French rock band, and they were looking for a new guitar player, and Sandy goes, "I got the right guy for you," and so the next day they flew me into Paris. They were interested. They flew me in. They heard me play like 2 notes, and they said, "Yeah, you're in." So then Shakin' Street was on CBS, and we were CBS artists, so it was great. Blah blah blah. Sandy took the band. We moved to San Francisco, worked up the band, recorded in San Francisco, and made that record. Yeah. Put us out on tour with Black Sabbath, Black and Blue tour, 40 shows in France. Then I met Ronnie Dio. Yeah. And Ronnie Dio comes up to me in England. He goes, "By the way, I love your band. I love the Dictators. I know a little about the New York scene, the New York rock scene, blah, 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 blah. You guys are great, but I'd like to introduce you to one of the guys here on my crew. His name's Joey DeMeo. He plays bass. I think you'd like the way he plays." So Ronnie Dio introduces me, Ross the Boss, to Joey DeMeo. We meet. We start becoming friends, jamming in Black Sabbath's dressing room. When Black Sabbath is on stage, we're like, and Ronnie's like, "What the fuck is that?" The racket up in their dressing room. Yeah. So it's like MANOWAR was born on English ground. That's the first line of the MANOWAR song that I wrote.
Sure.
Me and Joey decided to form MANOWAR in England.
So obviously that was a bit of a change from the last Dictators album. Did you have as much influence as Joey as far as the direction?
Oh, yeah.
Where you were taking? What was the idea when you guys said, besides riffing and clicking musically, what did you say the world needs?
The world needs a super powerful new band, heavy metal band, that every guy in the band was like a piece of granite, solid. Every man,
superhero,
super big, super loud, clean.
Over the top with an over-the-top image. The going image was Judas Priest, Iron Maiden with the black leather, which is cool. Yeah. I love that image, but we wanted to take the band one step beyond that, which would be Barbarian. Conan was a big influence on the band, so we ushered in a new era of power metal, long epic songs, rock songs. So we did this whole. MANOWAR is the father of real true power metal. Again, another influential band.
Yeah.
Now tell us about the Ross the Boss stuff. What did that lead you to do?
So after I did 6 records with MANOWAR, invented the band. So we kind of parted ways after Kings of Metal record, which was a gold platinum record, and as most of them were. So we did. I got married. I had my son in 1991, and then we had. And then I started doing. I had a band called Heyday, made a major label record, and Spinatra's major label record. Manitoba's Wild Kingdom came in 1990. The Party Starts Now. We did a very successful record. Which I just kept making records. Yeah. Then the Dictators came back together again. We started touring Europe in '96. We started recording DFFD, which came out in, I don't even know when. I just did so many records, and then we had a live record, Viva Dictators, then we put out our demos and rarities. And then about 2005, I put the Ross the Boss band together, 3 guys from Germany and me.
Yeah.
We got signed to AFM Records. We made 2 records, 2 records, major labels, did very well.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. Want me to keep going?
I love it. I mean, we can't get enough. As long as you keep rocking, we'll keep
Okay,
supporting.
so then about 18 months ago, I get a call from this guy, Sean Peck. He's the lead singer of the band called Cage. They're from West Coast. And he goes, I got an idea of a band. And then the guitar player calls me, needless to say. We put this band together. It's called Death Dealer. So he made the record. It just came out in June. It's gotten 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 reviews all over the world. We're about to embark on a arena tour of South America in November.
Wow.
And but then there's more to the story. There's this tour called the Metal All Stars.
Okay.
And it's Phil Insamo, Joey Belladonna from Anthrax, Udo, 2 guys from Night, Shadows Fall, Ministry guys, and they asked me to play.
Yeah.
So actually, Death Dealer will be opening up the tour for the Metal All Stars. So I'm going to be opening up for myself.
Doing double duty.
And the Dictators just keep playing. I just got off last week. We had a run. We got 15 shows in Spain coming up before the Metal All Stars. So
Now, who's playing the Dictators besides Dick?
it's Manitoba, me, JP from the band, and we have Dean Rispler from Murphy's Law,
Okay.
and Daniel Ray from Manitoba's Wild Kingdom, Ronnie Spector, Ramones producer, songwriter for the Ramones, and Shrapnel, the great old city, New York City band. So we have a great all-star band in the Dictators.
And what keeps you inspired?
Well, every time I put the guitar on, I just feel great. It's an honor to play music, and I just keep, the opportunities just keep coming, the record contracts and the records, and people are interested, and as long as people coming, I'm playing.
I mean, the dream as a teenager is evolved and making a living doing what you love to do.
It became a career for us. So, you know, I find myself pushing myself through doors and guitar and keep getting better and better, and it's very satisfying.
Well, besides the playing, obviously the business behind the scenes has evolved, but the internet is a great opportunity, and then it's taken a lot of things away.
It has.
What advice would you give to that young guitarist or young band today? What do they need to concentrate on? What they need to avoid to have any kind of fighting chance to make it?
The young guitar player has to realize that rock and roll is a tree. It's a tree of life, starting from rhythm and blues and all the great music of, you know, B.B. King and Albert King and Ike and Tina and all these bands and Muddy Waters. And if you don't at least investigate that music and learn from that, like I did, which is the basis of everything.
Go to the roots.
You can't start with just shredding, and you can't.
There's no soul.
There's no soul, and there's no foundation in your music. So every young musician should learn from the beginning rock and roll. You know.
Go back so you can go forward.
Right. You got to learn everything. Wes Montgomery and Elvis's guitar player and all these guys. So you got to learn it. I mean, you got to.
There are no shortcuts.
There's no shortcuts in music. It's a tough business, and you got to get out there. If you can't do it live, you might as well not play it. So it's a tough business. The internet, if it wasn't for the internet, Death Dealer couldn't play. Because one guy's in Australia, 2 guys are in the West Coast, I'm in New York, blah, blah, blah. I mean, so we were able to come together as a band through the internet. Facebook, as a matter of fact. And so we have a record that's doing fantastic in Japan. We're about to do South America. So.
Well, we can't wait to spread the gospel on that. Everything else you do. Ross?
One more thing, deathdealer.co, deathdealer.co. See everything that we're doing, and thanks for the support.